I want to start by naming something that so many academics and writers feel but don't always say out loud, which is that writing is emotionally loaded. I often say that writing, and especially sharing my writing with others, feels like you're part of a nudist colony. It feels like you're sharing something intimate. And it can also bring up perfectionism, imposter phenomenon, fear of judgment, conditioning around overwork or workaholism, internalized pressures to quote unquote prove yourself. And this comes up all while you might be facing very real systemic barriers. You might not have access to resources or supports that you need. You might have limited time and energy. You might have a lot of added family responsibilities. You might be dealing with your own health issues, or you might simply not have access to quiet spaces, uninterrupted time. I remember when I was in grad school, I would struggle with writing consistently. And it was precisely because of all the barriers I had going on at home. I was working multiple jobs as a grad student. I remember I would TA, I had my part time job as a grad mentor. I was a new mom. I was dealing with my own health issues, but then also add to that my own mental health issues with postpartum depression. And I felt like a failure because I couldn't write every single day like everybody around me pressured me to do. And it wasn't until I started to honor my ways of writing in longer, more intensive chunks of time that I really started to make progress on my dissertation. And it all started by me attending university organized retreats. I attended some retreats that were organized by the University Writing Center. I later co founded a writing group, and we would meet up and do some writing together. And then eventually, as the urgency came up, I started to just organize my own retreats. These were sometimes solo retreats at home, or sometimes they were retreats with my friends, and we would book a room at a local hotel and split the cost. There were times I even paid for a hotel room by myself because I needed to lock myself up and get work done. But in any case, I think I got to a point where I was setting up one retreat for myself each month, whether it was at home or in person with others. And that was how I finished my dissertation. And so, inspired by that experience and also what I've been hearing in my one on one coaching sessions with grad students, today I thought I'd share an approach to setting up and organizing your own writing retreat. This is something you could do at home, it's also something you could do with others. And specifically, I want to talk about how to set up a gentle writing retreat. So, this is about coming up with your own structured container that helps you to focus and make progress on a long term writing project without pushing yourself past your limits. Welcome to the award-winning Grad School Femtoring podcast, the place for first-gen BIPOCs to listen in on inclusive grad school stories and learn about personal development and productivity tips. This is Doctora Yvette Martinez-Vu, a certified coach, consultant, and author, and I will be serving as your femtor, providing you with insider knowledge to help you reach your personal and professional goals. Here is what we're going to be covering together. One is what I mean by a gentle writing retreat. Two, why does this matter? Like, why should you try to test out this approach? 3, the core components of how to set up this retreat and how to make it effective. 4, a step-by-step process for actually organizing it. And the last part are a few reflective questions to help you to customize it and make it your own. Because again, we're not all alike, so I can give you some guidance, but you can do with it what you will. See how you can apply it, see how you can really tailor it to your needs. Let's start with, what is a gentle writing retreat? So when I think about a gentle writing retreat, the first thing I think of is what it is not. And it is not a boot camp. I don't know what it is about retreats, but the first thing that comes to mind in my own association is thinking about a boot camp. And I am not a fan of boot camps, y'all. Like, boot camps, for some folks, it works. And if you're that way, that's great. You can definitely organize your own boot camp style retreat. They just don't work for me. And I think about the differences between, let's say, my partner and I. He's a very intense person. He likes to work in like very short, intense bursts of time and just like does as much as he can. And then he just takes a long break. And I'm the opposite. I'm slow and steady. And I tend to work for longer durations, but with lots of mini breaks and at a slower pace. And that's what works for me because of my body, because of my brain, because of all kinds of things. But that's what works for me. So this retreat is more for the slow and steady folks. That's why it's gentle. It's not about a specific output. I'm not trying to push you to power through. I don't want you to force yourself to write until you meet a rigid page or word count limit. It's about centering compassion. So really, you do that by thinking about your capacity and thinking about your circumstances. And then from there, deciding how much you can reasonably get done without harming yourself in the process. And the other thing that I think of when I think about a compassionate or more gentle writing retreat is you want to provide yourself with the supports that you need. So what do you need to sustain your attention? What do you need to focus? What do you need to reduce your cognitive load? And you can set that up within your retreat so that way, again, it increases your chances of success, whatever success means to you, which is the meaningful progress that you want to make. Why does this matter? This matters to me because I suspect that if you listen to this podcast, you're probably a grad student, maybe a college student too, maybe a working professional. You might be an early career professor. In any case, you are someone who is juggling a lot. You might be working in an environment where there are fewer resources. You might be part of a community where you feel that pressure to represent or to be successful for your family. You might be dealing with a lot of internalized narratives about feeling like you have to work twice as hard as everyone around you, and then feeling guilty or feeling like a failure or feeling ashamed because you're currently lacking the capacity to do that. So if any of these apply to you, you're in the right space. I'm thinking of you as I put together this episode, as I started to think about what do my retreats look like and how can I share this with others so they can do that for themselves. So again, for you, under your circumstances, it might be harder for you to make time every day for focus sessions. It's very similar to how I had a hard time when I was a grad student. And to be frank, I still have a hard time with doing that now. I have ideas for my second book and I have yet to get back to it because I have so much going on in my life that it's really hard to set aside daily focus time. But what I can do is work on this during my retreats. So you can benefit from similar strategies by setting up your own retreat. And also, if you work in daily bursts of time and that works well for you, you can also benefit from an added retreat. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think I started out doing that. I started out trying to do daily work, and sometimes I did it, sometimes I didn't. I wasn't consistent with it. But even when I was consistent with my daily writing, it helped to have that added boost of time to concentrate on my dissertation in a retreat experience. And so you can set this up for yourself in a daily fashion or in a retreat. But what works is having predictable routines, having gentle structure, having clear time blocks, setting up your own sensory friendly, supportive, accommodating environment, and of course, seeking accountability that doesn't make you feel bad. That's not about shame or guilt. It's about just holding you accountable in a gentler way, in a kind but critical or kind but maybe assertive, kind, but direct way. So here are the core components of a gentle writing retreat. You want to start out with setting your intentions. So you want to have a clear goal in mind. Think about how much focused time you have to work with and what your pace is going to look like during this amount of time. Then consider setting your own minimum and maximum goals. I've mentioned this on the podcast multiple times. And if you are one of my consistent listeners, you are very familiar with this idea. If you're new to this concept of minimum and maximum goals, it's this idea of setting a minimum goal of what's achievable when life hits you, when you don't have ideal circumstances, when you'll have low energy, when stuff hits the fan. So what's the minimum you can get done that still moves the needle forward? A maximum goal thinks about your ideal capacity, your ideal circumstances in a great week when the stars are aligned. What's the most you can get done without burning yourself out, without harming yourself in the process? So if you can get somewhere in between your minimum and maximum goal, that is great. That's ideal. That's worth celebrating. And why do I like having this parameter of minimum and maximum goals? Because it helps prevent the all or nothing thinking that comes up that can be harmful. So many folks, they set this very big, audacious goal or very ambitious goal. And then at the end of their session, they make progress, but they don't reach the goal. And because they don't reach the goal, they feel like a failure and they don't give themselves credit for the progress that they did make. And I want y'all to give yourself credit and I want y'all to celebrate yourselves because that's also going to increase your motivation. So we don't want the all or nothing thinking. We want you to have a range and we want you to celebrate yourself if you fall somewhere within that range based on, again, your intention setting. After you set your intentions, then you can follow some sort of predictable structure. So what does that structure look like? It can look like working in timed intervals. It can look like maybe you start with a shorter interval of time. Maybe it's a 25-minute Pomodoro session just to get warmed up. And then you can work your way to doing longer sessions of about 50 minutes. If you're really in the zone, you could even do a 90-minute deep focus block. I just want you to be wary of that because it can take time to work yourself to training your brain to be able to focus that long for 90 minutes straight. So if you can do it, great. If you can't, it's okay. The shorter bursts of time are fine. But the point is to work in intervals that can help you to focus by timing yourself. Of course, I'm going to be reminding you to take breaks. So add in some scheduled breaks. And again, another cherry on top is if you have some sort of beginning and ending ritual, something to honor your start and your end times. What are some of the supports that you can add for yourself? You can think about the fact that you're going to be probably sitting down for a long stretch of time. And so you want to move your body during your break times. You could stretch, you could take a short walk, you could Just do something that helps you to break out of that sedentary position. You can also have some headphones that you bring to the session. They could be noise canceling if that helps you to focus, or they could be headphones that you use to play music or sounds that help you focus. Some folks like to have a grounding object, something that they can look at that helps to ground them. Or sometimes some folks benefit from having some sort of fidget, something that they can mess with as they're doing their thinking or brainstorming. If you are someone who needs snacks and hydration, you might want to have that available. It could be your tea, your beverage of choice, coffee, water. You could also have your snacks. I remember working while being pregnant and having to have regular snacks all the time. And even when I flare up, one of my conditions, one of the things that I need is I need to have salty snacks around to help me when I am not feeling my best or when I'm feeling symptoms of presyncope. And so it helps to have access to snacks. So if you need snacks, bring them. And then one thing that I'm actually a big fan of that I highly recommend if you can get a hold of it is some sort of visible or visual timer. You want something that you could see so you can take a look and notice how much time you have left as you're working on these intervals. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier, you can set this up for yourself on your own, but community can make a big difference. I know co-working benefits me. Working in group settings is really, really good for me. Why is it good? For some folks, that added accountability of body doubling can be really helpful. So having someone physically next to you can help you. If you're doing it virtually, being with someone virtually and keeping your cameras on during those work sessions can also be helpful. Having someone that you can then share the opening and closing rituals can be helpful. And just in general, if you're someone who benefits from external forms of accountability, knowing that there's someone there who's going to be checking in on you can give you that motivation boost that you need to get started on your work. And then, of course, every retreat benefits from some sort of way to close out the session. You can end with a reflection, you can end with a celebration, or you can end with the clear next steps. You can end with all of the above if you want to. As long as you find a way to close that feels supportive to everyone in the group. So think about who all is going to be in the group and what would best support everyone. Now, in terms of a step-by-step guide, I've already started hinting at this, but here's a quick step-by-step system to follow. First, choose your time frame. Is it a half-day retreat? Is it a one-day retreat? Is it a weekend-long retreat? Next, choose your focus. What's the one thing you're going to be focusing on during the full duration of that retreat? After that, set your minimum and max goals for that period. You want them to be realistic, again. Then you prepare your materials in advance. So what can you do to set yourself up to get started and to reduce your decision making in the process? So you want to know, what am I working on? How much am I going to work on? Where am I going to get started? What's realistic for me to get done within this time frame? And know that. Do that preparation work in advance so that way you are ready to just jump right in when you're starting your retreat. And then, of course, follow some sort of gentle structure that feels good for you. So maybe 10 minutes to set intentions and share them with others. Maybe you go into a short writing sprint, then you go into a longer writing sprint, and of course, breaks in between these sprints, and then you close it out with a reflection or a celebration. And then, of course, make sure that you bring the supports that you need. Do you need your hydration? Do you need snacks? What do you need to feel comfortable or grounded? Do you need a quiet space? Do you need headphones? Do you need music? Do you need sounds? What's gonna increase your ability to sustain your attention for that period? You can have all these goals and all these intentions, but every single day is different. In fact, let me be real with y'all. I feel like I'm starting to catch a cold right now. So I don't feel like I'm at my best. And I fully intended to show up today with my version of best, which is my baseline best. And unfortunately, I'm not at my baseline best right now. So what that means is I had to modify the way that I was going to record today's session. That's going to mean fewer edits. That's going to mean you might notice more filler words or more mistakes, and it is what it is. It might even mean that this episode is shorter than I thought it was going to be initially. And so for you, thinking about your capacity in the moment, remember that you can always modify your goals as needed. So lower the pressure, figure out what you can do based on how you're feeling in the moment. And I mentioned earlier, make sure you close things out intentionally. It could be a ritual or it could be something else, but really thinking about your next steps can also be really helpful because the purpose of this is for you to complete that long-term project. And odds are you're not going to do it in one retreat. And so if you're not going to do it in one retreat, ask yourself, what's one baby step that I can take next? Or how am I going to maintain momentum without overwhelming myself? If you resonated with this, I have a few additional reflective questions for you to ask yourself so that you can personalize this experience. Ask yourself, what would be the ideal outcome for my retreat? How many people would make this space supportive, or is this going to be a solo retreat? What type of support do I typically need to maintain focus? What feels possible under my current circumstances, not under ideal ones? And also, who can I ask for community or accountability? Thank you for joining me today. I hope that this episode helps you to reimagine your own writing and your work on long-term projects in a way that feels more gentle and more compassionate. And of course, I want to shout out something that I have to offer that's directly tied to the topic of today. I'm actually really excited that I'm doing this because it's inspired by conversations that I've had with so many of you, and it actually came up recently in a one-on-one coaching session that I had with a client. And it finally sparked in me the idea to just like get this done, just get this going. Because not only are others going to benefit from it, I'm going to benefit from it too. This client, she knows who she is. Shout out to her because she's a grad student and she's a professional too. And you know what? We may end up collaborating in other ways in the future, but I really, really appreciate her for re-sparking this idea again. I've had this idea of organizing virtual retreats for a while, and I really needed to hear it from someone who needs it right now to finally put it together. So in any case, I am hosting a 2-day virtual retreat. It's called the Compassionate Accountability Retreat. I've set this up for first gen students and professionals who want to make progress on some sort of long-term project. And the point is for you to come in over 2 days. You get 2 mini workshops. You get to set intentions. You get guided check-ins. You get focused work sessions. You'll get up to 2 hours each day of focused time to work. And each of the days you get 3.5 hours. So it's 3.5 hours per day. So 2 half days of work, plus the intention setting, plus the workshops, plus tools and resources. Everybody that joins is also going to get a copy of my long-term writing bundle. And it's a bundle of different resources to help you with tackling long-term writing projects in particular. And also, you don't have to be working on writing if you don't want to. Some of y'all are going to have a dissertation or a thesis or a chapter to work on, but then others of you might be bringing your grad school application essays that you need to finish. You might be bringing a manuscript or a creative project. You might be working on something random. I think one person told me they might be working on a podcast idea during the retreat. So whatever it is that has been sitting on your mind for a while, it's been weighing on you, you haven't had time to tackle it, but you really want to tackle it before the holidays, then bring that. That works. So again, if you want accountability without guilt or shame, if you want a sense of structure without too much rigidity, and if you want a supportive space that doesn't feel like it's too much pressure, this retreat is for you. Join us, join us, join us. You can learn more and register using the link in the show notes. And if this goes well, I actually plan to have quarterly retreats next year. So check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you can't join us for whatever reason, please, 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 this is my invitation for you to create your own retreat at home. I give yourself permission to take what you learned, apply it in a way that feels good for you. And that's it. Let me know how it goes if you do organize something like this for yourself. I love, love, love hearing from y'all. Also, leave me a review, forward this to a friend if it's helpful. And as always, I'll talk to you all next time.
Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, here are 3 ways you can support the show. The first is to make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. The second way is to get your copy of my free resource kit linked in my show notes. This kit includes tools, worksheets, and podcast playlists on all things grad school, productivity, and personal development. The third way to support my show is to follow me on social media. You can find me on Instagram with the handle @Grad School Femtoring and on LinkedIn by searching my name. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.